Hi, good morning, everybody. Can everyone hear me and see me loud and clear? I think there's not many of us here today, so I think you can please, if you can just on your camera, show your pretty and handsome faces as usual, and then we can have more interaction. And since there are not many of us here today, I think you can unmute yourself so that we can have a little bit of discussion today going on and have a chat, as we call it, Sembang Santai session. All right, who do we have here? We have Nash. We have Su Linku. Linku is here, and SY. I don't know who SY is. If you can just introduce yourself, and if you all can on your camera. I believe Izati is from Excel itself, is it? Hello, good morning. Okay. Yes. Okay, Izati is from here. All right. Okay, loud and clear. Would be nice if you can actually not convenient. Okay, Nash. Right. I get your message. Okay. It's still a little bit early over there, I suppose. 9 a.m.
No, not because of that. Not because of that.
All right.
I don't think so. The environment is conducive. That's all.
Okay. All right. No worries. It's okay. As long as we can hear you, you can unmute yourself because there's not many of us here today. I suppose it is also because it's just a day after public holiday. Yesterday was a public holiday, right? And I think, I'm not sure, many of you, I guess many of you are working from home. Is that so? How's the situation there now? I'm sorry, because I'm not in Malaysia at the moment. So how is it now? I do read the news that it's not going too well, I suppose. Nash?
Yeah, so like only myself unmute. Don't sabo me because I unmute myself.
No, it's okay because I would want, as I said, it is Sembang Santai, right? We are supposed to be chatting. It's not just listening to me talking. That won't be interesting. Yes, Nash. Just introduce yourself, Nash. We can't see your handsome face, but just introduce yourself. That'll be fine. Where are you from and what do you do and everything? Yep.
Yeah, my name is Nash. I stay down south Johor, and then
my orang kampung. Okay, tell me.
Shoba also from GB. Yeah. Okay.
Yes, from Kluang. Tell me.
I am Kluang is a red zone.
Yeah, I heard about it. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, so I start work from home from today onwards because there's this condition that only 50% allowed to work in the workplace and the rest need to work from home. So part of the strategy, that's why I'm working from home, but I of course prefer to work from workplace lah.
Yeah, I know some people have this preference of wanting to be in the office. Yes, pros and cons to it. You get things done faster while in the office. At home, you're just all alone, like you're sitting in your bedroom now. Okay. So I think whose link, who was it? Was it just now? She said something also. Let me just see. Suling is from Global Enterprise, International Malaysia. Okay, she also says not convenient to switch on the camera. Okay, fine. As long we can interact, you can just unmute yourself. That'd be fine. So today, okay, there's a little bit of gap from my sessions. Apologies for that. And I'm back with the Sembang Santai session now. And today we're going to be talking about first of all, I would like to know, are you all from HR itself or are you from other departments? SY, I only see your initials there. I don't get your name. If you can just introduce yourself, unmute. Okay, Nash is from Learning and Development. That's nice. Okay. What about Suling? Are you also from HR? Okay. Right. So I will just assume that you all are from actually HR. So HR, of course, HR is very big. There's a lot of departments in HR, depending on the organizations you are in. Of course, in certain organizations, being HR, you are a generalist, you do everything. So learning and development is one of the things we do. So in the current situation we are now, as in Malaysia, we know that we are almost in a lockdown, so-called lockdown. Many of you are working from home. So at this point of time, if you can just share, I don't know how many of you are willing to share, what is the priority of your organization now that people are working from home, you don't see them? What are you actually doing in terms of developing your people? Because you don't actually see them now, yeah? You're working virtually and everything. So what's your strategy like, or what's your organization moving towards now? We've been in this pandemic for about a year plus already now. There should be some plans in place in your organization in terms of developing your people, in terms of your training, your L&D initiatives and everything. If any of you can share, would be good. Suling, are you okay to have your unmute yourself? What about Nash? Can you unmute yourself and share yours?
Hi, Shoba.
Yes, please. Okay, Suling says all training is done virtually. Okay, fine. Yes, Nash, go on, please.
Yeah, so the strategy is that because I work for a retail company,
Okay.
so we are quite new in terms of e-commerce.
All right.
And then we are looking towards the directions that how to make more convenient for the customers to buy online.
Yeah.
And talking about online, based on my crowds in my company there, basically we already have about like 60 to 70% who are like the Y generations, where them are quite familiar.
Right.
The computers and etc.
Okay.
It's quite difficult for us to engage them virtually, is because of the device limitations, the capacity of the device, and etc. So in terms of virtual trainings, even for this matter now, classrooms, we are more interactive. We can engage with, we can ask for their commitments and etc. But virtual is limiting a lot of what do you call this? There's a lot of limitations. So the struggle is real, and while we were talking about these challenges, the business must go on. We still need to deliver so that we can get our salary.
Okay, that's a nice way of putting it. You have to get your salary. Okay, thanks, Nash, for your input. Okay, I would agree to Nash. Yes, there are challenges in terms of virtual training. But I think what's important, we will go on to speaking about getting employee buy-in, okay, before even the executive buy-in, getting the employee buy-in, because this is going to be what the situation we are in now is real, okay, it's real. And it's not going to go off any soon. It's going to be here for some time. Now, I've engaged with certain organizations or some employers who want to, who take on a wait and see approach, because they feel like, things, of course, we are praying that things will get better. They want to wait for a pre-pandemic time, to get back to virtual classes. Yes, there were virtual classes conducted earlier before this current lockdown came in earlier. There were organizations and training consultancies which actually re-embarked back on virtual, on physical classes. But what I'm trying to say here is virtual trainings are going to stay for some time. That's a fact. So you cannot actually say that, I want to wait for things like how it was before COVID came, and then only I'm going to develop my people. That's not, that'd be too much, because you're not keeping up to the race now. You're not thriving towards it. So like what Nash said, now you need to keep your jobs and your salary going. So if you don't develop your people and you're going to wait for something to happen, like how it was before, then it's going to be difficult, right? So adaptability is very important. Okay, being resilient and being being adaptive to the new ways is very important. I know there are employers who just refuse to, they just cut off and they say no, so then it's going to be very difficult for you to actually manage the situation now, because we don't know when this thing with the pandemic we are in is going to go off. It's like you have the first wave, the second wave, and the third wave. Everything is coming, though we are hoping, things to do. But then again, that doesn't mean we just stay put where we are. We have to move forward. So let's go in and see how you actually get employee buy-in and executive buy-in, especially at this point of time. So the first thing is the questions, some questions which actually come at this point of time is, why is the training budget of most organization the first thing to go during an economic crisis, or during a downturn, or when the company is not doing so well, right? This is one of the first thing it will go. Because if you go to your executive, they say, no, we are not doing well, everything. This is not important now. Number one. Okay. Why is learning and development often it's not given the pride of place as a critical component for growth in many organizations? Number two, this question. And why is it always difficult to get your C-suite support or your executive support for learning and development initiatives, which often the HR or the L&D leaders put forward? So these are all very valid questions, which most HR employees or leaders or L&D leaders have been having for a very, very long time. So while but there are also many executives, many employers or executives, they agree that learning and development is a very strategic way to achieve the organizational goals, accepting to implement L&D. But then again, the part of acceptance, when the actual time comes, to accept the L&D initiatives is a different ballgame altogether when decision time comes. So let's look at how training is actually viewed. So what happens is leadership or our bosses often view training and development as like it's like a professional development fluff. They see it as a fluff. It's a nice thing to have and everything. That's it on paper. It may be positive for individuals, like some of you here today have turned up and you may feel that, okay, I want to gain something, but they don't see how it's positive for the company. Your leadership doesn't see that. That's the whole problem. You can't join the dots between what the individual wants and what the leadership wants, or what the company wants. So consequently, what happens is that there's unwillingness to invest in more complex and possibly more costly training that could actually bring about results. So the team members, okay, on the other hand, or the staff on the other hand, meanwhile, what they would happen is, especially now that everybody is juggling home and work together, right? So at this point of time, you go and tell some of them, they say, no, actually, I want you to attend this virtual training and everything. They view it as a busy work that cuts into their limited hours of the day. If they're in the office, you would have heard, so why training at this time of time? I'm so busy, I'm at my desk and everything. So they feel their real work is not being done. So what happens is employees, they resent training programs, seeing them as just like a mandated out of touch leaders who don't understand the nuts and bolts of the learning they have assigned. To them, they feel like, no, that's not it. But especially if you go to very senior staff who've been there for a very long time, to them, it's all about sitting at my desk and getting my job done. I know my job. You don't need to send me for training. That's what they would tell you, But training, of course, there are many aspects of training. It's just not in the hard skills. There are a lot of soft skills, right? Especially at this point of time. Soft skills are rated very high in terms of training, right? And they are the most wanted skills by the employers now, okay? Why? Because things like communication, empathy, being resilient, being adaptive, negotiation skills, all these are actually very important. Now, for me, when I was doing hiring and recruiting, I used to always say that I hire people for attitude, not so much for aptitude. Of course, when it comes with the aptitude, it's a bonus point. But the hard skills is something you can learn, the aptitude, okay? The technicalities of the job is something you can learn, but attitude is something needs to be nurtured, okay? That does not happen just overnight. Now, having said that, so one of the highest ranked, can I just ask you what's your biggest challenge you face before I move forward in terms of getting your executive buy-in idea? Like if you're going to propose an initiative, what's the biggest challenge you face here? Suling, would you want to share that? Right, I don't see that Suling is sharing. Okay. All right. Suling says training is not a priority. All right. Okay. Now, how do you change that priority? So one of the biggest, among the top 10 challenges when there was a huge L&D conference held with L&D leaders, one of the biggest challenges identified was the fact that the executives are not, or the leadership is not on the same page with the HR or the L&D L&D leaders. Okay, so the very first step to define this issue, this challenge, how do you manage that, is actually to make your executives sit up and take notice. So, okay, they need to take notice of the problem you have. You need to actually define your problem first. Why? What is your problem? Okay. Only when the problem, suppose if the problem is about lagging employee engagement. Okay. So only when the problem of lagging employee engagement is articulated in a way that leaders care about. Okay, then only will they spend time and energy required to help craft a meaningful solution. So only when the executives are fully engaged in the process, you will achieve your goal. So first the problem, then the solution. So it is no point going to your executive and say, hey, look here, I want to go for this training, or I want to send this stuff for training. You need to actually identify where the problem is. This is where, when your annual appraisals happen, it's important that you address this and you do your skill gap analysis. I'm sure you all do your skill gap analysis, right? So during when you do your skill gap analysis is where you identify the training needs of a particular employee as well, or for all your staff. So then you see where your problem is. It is no point simply going and saying, or the head of department or the line manager says, just to tick the boxes, just because you want to tick them. So, oh, I have to attend some kind of KPI, some kind of training. So therefore tick the boxes and go for that. So that's a wastage of a huge amount of money. So this is where, when your executive says, what is the impact of all this? You need to build your case there. So as I said, define the problem with hard and relevant data. So as HR professionals, okay, or learning and development professionals, you need to understand that sometimes like things like low employee engagement is not just a soft problem. Okay, although you see it as a soft problem, or employee engagement, I need to actually engage soft skill programs. But the cause of disengaged employees and unwanted attrition, okay, staff turnover, are well understood. So according to some studies, the impact of lower employee engagement scores is pretty startling, okay. It goes up to 12% of lower profits, 19% lower of operating incomes, 28% of lower earnings per share. While higher employee engagement, the scores correlate as well. 18% greater productivity, about 12% higher customer satisfaction, 51% less voluntary turnover. So this is how you need to present your data to your management. So be crystal clear about the problem you're trying to solve and the value of solving it as compared to other strategic priorities. Okay, so use hard data from employee engagement research and incorporate attrition data. So this is where sometimes exit interview data and employee feedback is important to make your case. Okay, exit interview forms are not just forms. I always tell HR people, they are just not forms for you to just file it in the personal file or put it under some stack of papers and everything. They are actually very important files. But then again, you got to see how genuine or how open the person who is going to leave the organization is giving feedback. Some generally, we Malaysians, we're very diplomatic. We don't want to say things. So it's important to encourage them to say things, okay, because whichever way they're leaving the company. Of course, you don't want them to burn bridges with the existing employers, but it make them feel comfortable, okay, and whatever criticism which is given there, take it constructively for betterment. So it's only with all this that you will have your data to support your training initiatives. Okay, up till now, any question before I move on? No, great. So let's move on, right? Some of the ways to get actually your achieve your employee buy-in. Okay, employee buy-in is, I won't say it's easy, but then again, before you actually embark on a training initiative, it's important to be actually transparent, not simply dumping your stuff and saying like, oh, okay, this is the training for you, go for it. And they don't know why they're going for it, right? So it's important that you articulate the why to them. Okay, is your new training initiative reactive? Is it proactive? Is it preventive? Okay, they need to understand the why. Explain the process and the reasons behind it. You know, every training initiative has a different process behind it. Emphasize the outcomes of it. What is expected of them? And seek their feedback. This is where you have feedback forms and everything after every training program and everything, right? So make them understand that how they fit into the bigger picture of the whole organization, okay, and how the training is going to benefit them. You see, as human beings, we all want to know that WIFM, what is in for me? We are all like that, right? So before asking the staff to go, they always want to know, okay, what am I going to gain out of this by going? So this is important where HR professionals, I always tell them, one size does not fit all. Okay, like what I said, when you do your annual appraisals, you do your skill gap analysis, you do your training need analysis, you need to understand each and every staff of yours. Okay, like now everyone is working from home. Of course, being maybe the millennials and the younger generation, they do not have much issues managing gadgets, but probably a little bit matured staff may have that. Okay, so if you were going to tell them that, you know, oh, just simply go for this, they may say like, I'm busy with so many things at home, why are you asking me to go for this? So tell them the benefit of it and how it's going to fit into the whole thing. Now that you're all moving into online businesses, what does online business mean? Interaction with customers, right? Interaction with customers. Has your sales boomed or has it dropped? If it's dropped, I'm sure you have feedback forms from customers and everything. You need to look into all these data. So if you're sending some of your staff for customer service skills, you've got to actually support that with your customer feedback data. Only then you can actually see your return on investment. I'll talk about ROI in a bit, okay? So how do L&D leaders or even the HR professionals get your executive not to implement training initiatives, right? So getting them to say okay for your training initiatives relies on your clarity, your transparency, and your structure. So nobody likes uncertainty, okay? And if things are not clearly presented, the decisions will be, and they, of course, the decisions will be delayed, right? If it's not being clear. So additionally, what's important for your executives or your bosses, you see, they have their own agenda linked to specific targets and KPIs determined by the company goals, right? So if a particular initiative doesn't seem to support such targets, okay, probably it won't be even considered in the first place, since such budgeting is tough and decisions are always measured against priorities. Okay, so some of the tips which I can say that you, in order to get your management buy-in for training and development initiatives a little bit more easier, would be to prove alignment between your company goals and your training program. Okay, if your company goals is to achieve customer satisfaction of how many percent or whatever, and this is how we need to grow towards this, we need to grow our production another by 20%, link your training programs to your company goals for them to see, and then only you can make your case study progress. So when it comes to reaching consensus in decision making, unit for your training program, so one of the most important factors is demonstrating, be clear and be concise how the program perfectly aligns with the company goals. So you obviously need to be aware of the direction in which your organization is headed, while also showing that you understand all the big whys that shape the strategy. So as a HR professional, or as a HR staff or manager, whatever, or L&D staff, you need to understand your organizational goals and objective very, very clearly, because otherwise, whatever you're going to propose will not hold water, and it's just there will not be, you will not see it as an impact. It will be just ticking the boxes. So you need to understand where your organization is heading. Okay, so if you show how your training program is likely to contribute to your company's goals and create a direct link between the activities and how these are supposed to actually support the main company strategy, it will be a lot easier to gain for approval for your training programs. So make sure the trail between initiative and goal is clear. Okay, don't skip the steps there. To you, it might be obvious that why a certain tool or project links directly are linked to specific product, but to others, or even if you go to your bosses who are not in the topic, the connection might look blur. So you need to make it clear to them how it's being connected, right? So moving on, define metrics and KPIs to monitor the effectiveness or the efficacy of your training. Okay, so every effort needs to be connected to a clear return of investment. This is what I was talking about just now, return on investment, ROI. Okay, so one concept that clearly came about in high-level discussions with top L&D leaders in conferences and everything was finance. Okay, so finance was identified and emphasized as the universal language of business, right? So CEOs, okay, or your bosses or your MDs, they are always concerned about the bottom line, right? They have a constant eye on the number that indicate business success, and any initiative that will impact on it negatively, no matter how good it can sound, will not get their approval, right? So return on investment, how you actually get their, how you actually convince them on ROI is actually very important. So the logic is simple. Okay, if you cannot speak the language of business, you may be in the HR, but you need to speak the language of business. You cannot sell your L&D initiatives convincingly to your executive management, and you cannot sell your initiatives, you cannot secure their buy-in, right? So every initiative must find itself on the income statement of the organization. Not just on the income statement, but on the revenue side of the income statement, not as an expense side. Okay, more often than not, what happens is L&D initiatives are always seen as expense. Now, it is your responsibility how you turn that expense into revenue. You've got to do that, right? So basic understanding of financial models are actually very important for HR professionals to build your convincing business case for organizations to invest in cost-effective learning initiatives, all right? And you need to actually, that will actually go down your track record well, okay? And it will actually give significant impact to your training budgets if you can do that well, okay? So try to set SMART goals, okay? Specific, measurable, agreed upon, realistic, and time-based goals that actually demonstrate a direct impact on company goals and strategy, and create an implementation plan that shows step by step how long the monitoring or the testing phase will last and how long you intend to collect the results. So you see, when it comes to training, there are several results that can be immediately linked to metrics, okay? So one of it would be maybe employee productivity, performance speed, operations, all right? So the two main issues here to be represented is time to impact and other metrics that aren't easy to convert into figures. So, okay. So in some cases, training activities have a long-term effect that require longer period of observation for evaluation, right? So for an example, activities that impact employee turnover or employee experiences, sales cycle and project management. These are things need to be monitored for a longer period of time to establish whether or not there was a clear return on investment. It's not like, you know, one time somebody goes for training and come back, oh, immediately you see that. Okay, so some things, certain things takes a longer time to see the impact. So other parameters are often obscure and a little bit difficult to measure. So not all results will have an immediate and clear impact on the bottom line, such as sales performance. It may take a little bit of time. So this is where you actually need to explain things to your executives, right? So think of metrics such as knowledge retention, customer satisfaction experience, and other subjective parameters that are actually connected to how useful the training program was for the participants. Okay, right. So now, both the problems can make it actually a bit difficult for HR professionals to get management buy-in for their activities. So to bypass such things and everything, what you can do is pinpointing related performance results that can immediately be linked to training programs, right? And you can use things like scorecard and like what I said just now, surveys. Okay, now these are things which are possible. You use it as percentage results for perceived metrics, such as satisfaction, to make sure the overall impact of the training activities is considered and tested, right? So the main aim is actually to create a roadmap that represents the implementation of plan and cost of training. So everything must be linked to specific results that need to be achieved to guarantee your return on investment. So let's just see, so when you're dealing with uncertainty, all right, in terms of long-term impact, it's very useful to create different scenarios to show the effects on the bottom line, such as presenting a break-even scenario if it's the worst case, all right? So another way of getting your executive buy-in is by having or creating a clear exit strategy. What I mean here by exit strategy is by taking risk. There's two kinds of risk, okay, which normally risk aversion, okay, is one of the main obstacles hindering new initiatives. So when facing uncertainty, it is often impossible, okay, to eliminate risk altogether. So for executives, risks come in two flavors: reckless risk and calculated risk. Okay, so now reckless risks are decisions that are they are not backed up by data, previous experience, or industry norms. So this is where you feel like, oh, okay, somebody is sending me some brochure for training program. Okay, I think this is nice to go for lah. Okay, go for this. That's reckless risk. They are not backed up by data or previous experience or by what your actual problem in your organization is. Okay, so what happens is, in this case, any sort of commitment or decision becomes more likely based on gut feelings, right? So sometimes these things can lead to good results. I'm not saying it's bad. Off the cuff, you see something good, you feel like going in, you submit your application, it's approved, you go, yes, you get it. But in mostly, it's a matter of luck, right? Now, calculated risk on the other way is you are linked to educated guesses, right? Past performance references, benchmarks, and you have a clear backup strategy. So your risk of losing something here is lesser because you have calculated it, right? So think of car manufacturers that purchase the same part from different providers, or firms that rely on multiple advertising agencies. So what happens is, when you take things from different parts and you actually have a benchmark to actually compare what you're having, your initiatives and everything, your buying idea, or what you're going to be presenting to your executives would actually have a better buying idea, because they can see things in front of them rather than just, going and saying, oh, I want to go for this, right? So yeah, so the other way is present your training program data in a very concise way. Okay, so the documentation should actually present whatever training you're going to be, training initiatives which you're proposing. See, what happens is sometimes most HR departments, you would have your training initiatives or training programs planned for the whole year. Okay, you'll have various things. It can be in terms of operations, it can be in terms of technical training, it can be in terms of soft skills, it can be in terms of communication training and everything. You'll have it planned for that. So when you are actually planning this, okay, and you're planning for your training budget, when you're doing your documentation, present it in an easy way, which actually addresses the what, the when, the how, the why, and the who propositions, okay, together with the implementation plan, the KPI scenarios for the ROI calculation, the risk management strategy, monitoring, and so on. All right, so these are tons of information actually for you to present to your executives, and executives normally do not have time to actually look into everything. So what's important is you present it in a way, you compile your charts and diagrams. Okay, it can be in terms of Gantt charts, it can be as what people say, a picture paints 1,000 words, rather than writing everything in, put it, or maybe in a canvas, in a training canvas where you put everything in together, right? So the main body that describes the target activities need to be short. Okay, so create abstract links, where they can actually assess to know what further details of the training is all about. Okay, structure your presentation in a very clear way. Okay, the same way as how a salesperson would structure a pitch. So here you are the salesperson and your boss is your customer. So that's how you should actually structure your pitch to your boss. So focus more on the why and how. Okay, why is the training important? Remember, I told you, define the problem first. Define the problem first. How we are going to solve the problem. So focus more on the why and how, not so much of the what. That's not so important. What's going to be done? Okay, I'm going to have some communication skill program. Yeah, I know it's a communication skill program. Why and how? Why does the skill need to be brought to this person? How is it going to be done? How is this person going to be measured after that? What kind of monitoring is going to be done after that? What kind of impact we are looking at? Okay, so what's important here is sell a vision. Now you're the expert here, all right? Sell a vision to your executives, not just a simple training program. So this is where sometimes I used to tell when I deal with HRs and everything. Some of them expect the sky and moon just out of one day program. Now that's not going to happen. Okay, learning is a lifelong thing, right? So it's important that if you see the certain skills now, if there's a group of people or a group of staff, maybe a couple of staff who actually need, perhaps maybe they need to brush up their language in English. Okay, it can be spoken, it can be written. By just coming for a one-day program, English at workplace, I conduct English at workplace, what are you going to be learning? Yes, you would learn to a certain extent, but learning language is continuous, right? So it's important that you engage in coaching sessions, all right? And perhaps maybe you can't be going, and it's also cost when you're going to be engaging an external trainer for a lot of coaching sessions. So you need to actually transfer this knowledge to your internal people where they can be coaches. You need to identify coaches and mentors within your organizations. Okay, and this is where sometimes I say line managers come in very important. HR alone will not be able to train everybody in your organization. So it's important that you bring in line managers because they are the first point of contact with your other staff, right? So moving forward, we've got another about couple of minutes before I wrap up. So let's see some of the most frequent questions or which I get when talking about ROI of training development. Okay. What are the benefits of training development? Of course, I think you all would know that. Okay, the benefits is definitely improving employee performance. It reduces turnover. It fosters consistency. Okay, increases innovation and enhances your company reputation. Right. So job seekers seek out there. They seek actually. You see, a lot of people when a survey was done, especially the millennials, what they're looking for now is development in their jobs. When they're looking for employers, they're looking for development in their job. So a Gallup poll revealed that almost 60% of millennials said career development opportunities were a deciding factor in applying for a job. So this is also one of your recruitment strategy. Okay, having proper career development opportunities and training initiatives in your company. Okay, it's one way for you to attract good talent into your company. So the basic thing is pretty simple. In the finance industry, the basic formula for calculating ROI is net profit over total investment times 100. That's ROI. Okay. So now if you translate that to a training and development context, the basic ROI formula would be your net monetary benefits of training over the total cost of training times 100. Now, the total cost of training is something easy you can find, right? Okay, so going for this training, this is the cost. It can be 5,000, it can be 10,000. The challenge is getting the net monetary benefits of training. How do you get that number, right? Okay, now this is where your data comes in very important. If you have employee turnover, okay, you need to convert this employee turnover, like what I said, the attrition of it into numbers. And once the training is already held, okay, so the data may look soft like employee engagement, no single point when converted to it, it will be a proof that it's monetary benefit, but you need to convert that into dollar cents after a training is held. Look into how your has your attrition percentage fallen after that, or has it increased after that? That's where you actually convert your ROI, right? So basically, right, the other way of actually measuring the effectiveness of training development. Very quickly, I'll talk to you about this. This is a very huge topic, but I'll just give you a little bit of insights on this, all right? Is actually to follow the 4 levels of Kirkpatrick model, which is reaction, learning, transfer, and evaluation. These are the 4 models when you do if you are a person who does your training analysis and your training process, so using the Kirkpatrick model would be one of it, right? So reaction is the first stage. You evaluate how your participants interact with the learning program, right? Did they like the course? Did they feel it was worthwhile? Okay. Many HR professionals obtain this through post-program comments and interviews. Second thing is learning. Okay, at this level, participants actually what they do, they demonstrate the acquired skills and knowledge which was imparted during the training. So one way of knowing it is exams and interviews with learners document the degree to which they have absorbed the information. This is where sometimes you have like post assignments after training program. Okay, and then it's the transferring. Remember I said after training, learners must apply those skills and knowledge in the workplace. So this is one way for you to measure the effectiveness. When they have gone for a training, okay, let's say they have gone for English at workplace. When they have come back to the workplace, have they been able to put up a proper report? Have they been able to write proper reports with proper English? Have they been able to deliver and present it in a proper way? These are the ways for you to actually measure. And of course, the final way is evaluation. Okay, did you actually achieve your intended results? Okay, the evaluation metrics can include sales revenue, okay, product quality, service quality, and productivity. So that's the 4 levels you actually use to measure the effectiveness of your training program. Because unless you can measure your effectiveness of your training program, that's only then you can get your executives buy-in for future training programs, right? So in summary, so to build a compelling business case for your L&D initiatives, or more importantly, to win your CEO's support and their initiatives, as HR professionals, you should first and foremost anchor learning on the strategic, your learning initiatives to the strategic goals of your organization. Okay, link training to the priority of your business. If your business now is about moving to e-commerce business, to e-commerce platform, link your training programs to that, because that's your priority now. Find themselves on the income statement, like what I said, convert it to your ROI. Instead of an expense, bring it as an income. Okay, ensure there's always a good track record. This is how you measure your effectiveness of your programs. Okay, make sure you have a track record of that, and contribute without being asked. When I say contribute without being asked is, you see, you are like a physician now who is supposed to be prescribing medicine. There's a problem there. Something is, there's a huge problem there. There's an ailment there. You're the physician and you need to prescribe the medicine. So you are the best to know. You're the professional here. You need to act like you're the person who knows everything about it. You're the expert here. So don't have doubts about that. Okay. So move away from being just a processor to be an active participant, and recognize that your first customer for your any learning and development initiative is your CEO, your boss, right? So regardless of the level of the sophistication of your L&D strategy, or the alignment with your organizational goal, or the extent you want such culture, to drive such initiatives, in the end, it comes down to how well these initiatives answer your CEO's critical question: by how much have we increased our revenue or reduced costs as a result of your L&D initiative? This is the question which needs to be in you each time. You need to answer this question each time when you're proposing something. Okay? So with that, the 5 B's, which I always say, which is very important for you to be remembering when you want to get an executive buy-in, is to have data on best practices. Okay, benchmark against best practices within the same industry of yours. Okay, build your business case, build a very strong, convincing business case with data and numbers. This is how you get your executives buy-in. Nothing else is going to get buy-in. If you just go and say, oh, so and so did this, and the trainer is good, and blah, 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 and everything, it's not going to get you anywhere. So build your business case. Understand where your problem is, where your solution should be. Build your business case. Be specific. Okay. Don't give general remarks. Don't give generic data or details or whatever. Be very specific in your activities. What kind of activities you're going to go, what kind of monitoring are you going to do and everything. It's good to have control groups, okay? If you learn about the Kirkpatrick model further, you'd understand that control groups, how you compare is one group which has attended a particular training and another group which has not attended a training. That's what control group is of. So how do you actually measure? This is how you compare and you measure and you create your data there. That's one way of doing it, right? Be assertive, okay? Don't doubt what you want to do. You've got to believe in that program first. I always say, when I do training on certain programs and everything, I need to believe in that training program. Okay, so as HR professionals, you need to believe in the training program. What are the contents of the program and everything? You know, what kind of results is going to be giving you? You have got to believe in it first. If you're going to do some kind of change management program or employee engagement programs, you have got to believe in it first. So don't do training programs just because you want to tick the boxes and all that. The impact will not be there. All right. You've got to believe it. You've got to advocate this thing to your line managers, to your staff, and even to your executive. Right. So be assertive about that. And as I said, if you really can't, sometimes bigger initiatives such as change management and so forth. Okay, those are training with a bigger initiative thing. You may need to actually bring in an expert from outside to actually convince and show your executives with the right data, right? Or show to you the right data or how it's going to be done. Right. With that, I think I can wrap up today's session. And I will be having more training sessions. I know within 1 hour, I can't share much with you all, but I hope I have shared something for you to bring back on how you actually get your executive buy-ins and your employee engagement in terms of training and development, right? So I'll be having more programs on this coming up, or more comprehensive programs coming up. And you can reach out to Excel Academy to know what are the other programs which are coming up. So I can take in some questions. We have a couple of I think we have about 8 minutes left. And if you all can just unmute yourself and share whatever you want to share, will be good. Right. Let's see. Hi, Shoba. Will you be sharing any decks or files later to refresh on the contents? Unfortunately, Nash, no, I do not have slide decks for my Sembang Santai sessions, but you are most welcome to reach out to me. And in fact, any of you can actually reach out to me if you need a ROI template. I have an ROI template. My contact is with Excel Academy. You can reach out to them and they can share my contact with you, or you can share your emails and your query with them. I can send a template to you. Yes, okay, you can probably give your contact to Excel Academy. I can send a template to you as to how you work out your ROIs. Okay, yep. Anyone else would like to unmute and say anything? Right. I'm leaving now. Thank you, SY. I didn't get your full name, so I'll just address you as that. Right. Anyone else? Nash, would you like to share anything before we leave?
No, Shoba, thank you for the time. And yep, I need to also rush back to the next meeting.
Okay.
So crisp and nice. Thanks for the sharing.
Thank you. Thank you for attending today. All right, Shihui, Sulingku, thank you for attending. See you for the next Sembang Santai session, hopefully. All right. Yes. Yes, Suli. We will also send to you. Please share your contact or email details with Excel Academy. I'll send to both of you, those of you who have requested. Okay. So with that, thanks a lot and hope to see you all again. Stay safe, stay healthy. See you all soon. Okay.